Today we're showing you our favorite recipe for vegan tofu bolognese. If you can imagine the idea that we have more than one of these recipes. We cook vegan meals pretty often to offset the more meaty days. And because it's January and everyone is making New Year's resolutions, we thought it would be a good time to show you one of our meatless go-tos. We're not huge tofu enjoyers, but fortunately the flavors here hide the usual tofu taste pretty well. So if you're new to tofu or usually don't enjoy it, this might be something for you to try. For the sauce, you're going to need a pack of tofu, shockingly enough. We use the smoked stuff since it adds more flavor, but regular will do as well. You'll also need 2 onions, 30 grams or 2.5 tablespoons of lentils, 1 to 4 cloves of garlic depending on your taste, 300 milliliters or 1.5 cups of tomato sauce, and a single carrot. Not a baby one, get one of those big boys. We encourage you to add other ingredients that you have lying around that you like that might suit this. Not like ice cream and Brussels sprouts, but more like, we used watercress, a handful of mushrooms, and some celery. The whole mix will make about 2 to 3 portions, and we used it on 250 grams of noodles. First, chop up your onions. Even if you've studied the blade and leveled up your knife skills to 100, these don't really need to be chopped very finely. It's gonna look a little rough in the sauce. Actually, it's probably gonna look like shit, but we're making up for that by providing texture. Traditional bolognese with ground beef will get its texture from the meat, but since we don't have meat, we have to use our veggies for texture instead. Once your onions are roughly chopped, finely dice your garlic or squish it with a garlic squisher. What's this called? A garlic press. Just be sure not to squirt any pure garlic juice into your eye or other sensitive bits. I cannot recommend it. Now chop the rest of your veggies. For us, we have the carrots, the celery, and the mushrooms. We also decided to chop these more roughly, again for texture. To finish off our prep, unwrap your tofu and crumble it with your meaty fists. It may be vegan, but by God, we're bringing the meat somehow. Bring 200 milliliters or a cup of broth of your choice and 100 milliliters or a half cup of tomato sauce to a slight simmer. If you use chicken, beef, or other meat broth, congratulations, you have completely fucked the vegan out of your dish, which is fine by me. Add your lentils, carrots, and celery if you decide to add any, and then boil this mess for a total of 20 minutes. In the meantime, heat a pan on medium heat with some oil and fry up your tofu crumble for around 3 minutes. Now it's time to fry up your mushrooms, onions, and garlic until fragrant. When your lentil abomination is done boiling and your fry is fried, combine the two. Then add the rest of your tomato sauce, a splash of water if you need it, and salt and pepper to it. Now you can add any spices of your choice. We added a dash of paprika, some bird's eye chili spice, some curry powder, a dash of soy sauce, bay leaves, and some extra broth for a more intense flavor. You could also add a dash of red wine here if you happen to have some on hand. Let this ragu mixture simmer on low heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. This stuff honestly tastes best if you let it soak in the fridge for at least 24 hours, though that is optional if you want to down it now. It works great on lasagnas, shepherd's pie, and pretty much anything that you'd use a beef tomato sauce on. Although red lentil lasagna is still probably the best plant-based lasagna in our opinion. We gotta make a video on that sometime. When your sauce is done, you can boil your noodles of choice. The internet suggests rigatoni, tortiglione, shells, and orecchiette for bolognese. But no one's gonna judge you if you go for a plain spaghetti here. Except for me. I'm gonna judge you. I have a passionate disdain for spaghetti since I'm firmly in the camp that it doesn't hold chunky sauce as well as a lot of the other noodles. Also, spaghetti attacked my uncle once. Just as a side note, and not because my wife had no idea about this until around a couple of months ago, but the rougher the noodle, the better. So that's something to look out for when buying your pasta. And it's something that we found is way more important than the shape or the price or the origin of the pasta. Anyways, we went for a full grain tortiglione since they have more fiber. If you're looking to include more protein, you could use a lentil-based noodle here instead. We're not big fans of the taste of lentil-based noodles personally though, despite us going on about the red lentil lasagna. Trust us, just the noodle itself, could use a little work. Boil your noodles according to the packaging and mix them in with your sauce after taking out any bay leaves that you might have put in. If you are using the bolognese on noodles like we are, Place a small amount of sauce at the bottom of your serving dish and then top it off with your saucy noodles. If you aren't vegan, you can continue to defile this dish by grating some nice Parmesan on top. We don't judge anyone for using the pre-grated stuff, but that whole slice of cheese is definitely worth it if you can get it. We personally would prefer to buy this as a once-in-a-while thing instead of having copious amounts of the lower grade stuff, but that doesn't really matter to some people, so just do what makes you happy. Now, the most important thing about grating cheese is to use the biggest grater possible. If it's not the size of your torso, do not use it. You can finish off this dish by adding basil, cress, or parsley to the top for that green pop of color. We like to decorate the side of our bowl with balsamic crema glaze. Look it up, I practically drink this stuff. We also recommend a dry red wine, a simple low acidity salad, and bread and butter as sides. You did it! You may now eat the tofu bolognese. Thanks for watching. This was a little bit of a different recipe category than we usually do, but feel free to experiment and adjust it however you like to fit your taste. Next up is probably going to be a baking video, so keep a lookout for that if you've been missing those. As always, the recipe and our social media are linked in the description. Have a good one.